What's up, guys? It's your boy Shirtless Vegan here, and today we're going to be making cauliflower, spinach, and rice. In today's video, we're going to be sauteing spinach, boiling rice, and steaming cauliflower, and I am also going to be searing the cauliflower in some different seasonings as well on top of the stove. And while I'm cooking, I'm going to be teaching you guys how to transition to a plant-based diet. While we wait for our water to boil for our cauliflower, I'd like to speak to you guys on to how to switch to a plant-based diet. Now, the first step is asking yourself why. Why do you want to go to a plant-based diet? Is it for enlightenment reasons? Is it for health reasons? Or is it just for the simple reason that you want to try something new? Just understand that going from the original way of eating meat to switching to plant-based diet is extremely hard because we don't necessarily have the knowledge of or nutritional knowledge of how to switch. And we also live in such a world where everything is meat. On my journey of switching to a plant-based diet, I started off with taking things day by day, or I guess you can say week by week or month by month. I started off with cutting pork and red meat out completely. And I planned it by day. I challenged myself to go a month without red meat. So the next month was chicken. After chicken, I also challenged myself to go a month without eating, let's not just say necessarily chicken, let's just say going without eating a bird. So that's chicken, that's duck, that's turkey. And then after that transition, I went to only eating fish. I became a pescatarian. And that was the hardest part because after pescatarian, it's vegetarian. And once you go vegetarian, things becomes a little shaky, mainly because you don't know what to eat. And I had to personally do a lot of research on a vegetarian diet. I had to start cooking a lot more because, every day you're not going to eat a fucking salad. The transition from vegetarian to vegan was a lot harder because I didn't necessarily know what being a vegan was. And I really had to go into detail of what it was like to become a vegan. Now, for those of you that don't know what being a vegan is pretty much not eating anything that comes from an animal and not eating an animal itself. So things like honey, you can't have. Things like cheese or dairy products, you cannot have eggs. Anything that comes from an animal, you cannot eat whatsoever. So you really have to do your research, and I'm here to help. So as of now, we're going to be loading our cauliflower into our steamer. And as I do that, I'm going to teach you guys how to take things day by day, especially when it comes to a vegan. When you finally do your step-by-step challenges into finally becoming a vegetarian, that's when things become a lot harder because the temptation is what kills you when it comes towards transitioning towards a vegetarian, from a pescatarian to a vegetarian. Why? Because you're setting yourself up where you feel mentally that you're missing out on meat. You smell meat, you're surrounded with people that eat meat, and things become a lot harder and challenging making that transaction or that transition. So what I like to tell people when it comes to switching from, let's just start off with vegetarian. Take things day by day. When you have the sensation of eating meat, just challenge yourself and say, instead of eating, let's say, fish, I'm going to eat, I don't know, let's throw something out there. I'm going to be eating spinach. Or if it's not spinach, I'm going to be eating, let's say, meat substitutes. You have things like the Beyond Burger, You have things like Beyond sausages, and then you have your other meat substitutes where you have plant-based chicken nuggets, chicken tenders. And I don't necessarily recommend eating those things because they aren't necessarily that healthy, but they are a good start to transitioning from a vegetarian to a vegan, because they help you get used to that substitution from meat to plant-based. So we're gonna have our cauliflower steam on the stove for about 7 minutes because you don't want to lose its nutritional value. Cauliflower usually contains about 25% vitamin K, and it's really, really high in vitamin C. While that's steaming, I would like to also continue to further talk about the transition to vegan. So now when it comes to transitioning to the vegan, your mind starts to play tricks on you. It's going to feel as though that it needs certain things. You're going to feel as though that you need meat when you don't necessarily need it. When you have the urge and sensation of eating meat, and it becomes, I would say, uncontrollable, quotation marks, eat meat. You know, you really want to take days by days, and trust me, the day you eat meat, you're going to finally realize that you're not missing out on anything. The day you eat meat, you're going to finally realize how bad of effect it does towards your body opposed to being plant-based. You're going to feel a lot more energized when you become plant-based versus when you eat meat. Now, me being a spiritualist, the whole enlightenment feeling towards being plant-based is the fact that you're not eating another life form. No animal wants to die, you know? Like, you don't want to die. Not comparing you to an animal, but you have a consciousness just as much as any other animal does. You may not have the same purpose as that animal, but no animal truly wants to die. Now, when you're eating an animal that does die, be mindful that you're eating the trauma that it also went through. You're eating the cells, the dead cells and the chemicals that that animal has left behind after it was killed. As we wait for our cauliflower to finish steaming, we're going to start boiling out our rice next, because rice usually takes a little bit longer, roughly about 10 to 15 minutes to boil. And then obviously we're going to do our spinach last, because I usually, personally, saute my spinach for about 20 to 30 seconds on a pan. And as we wait, I also like to continue talking about a more spiritual view of why it's important to become vegan. When you become vegan, you become a lot more sensitive. You become a lot more well in tuned. The reason for that is because you're decalcifying your different glands, and more importantly, your pineal gland, when it comes to transitioning towards a vegan. Your body is getting the proper nutrition that it needs to cleanse. And when you start to cleanse yourself, you become greatly enlightened. I believe becoming vegan is the first step to enlightenment, because now you're aware of consciousness, the consciousness in yourself, in others, and not only others, in animals. And you begin to become aware that not every animal wants to die. Animals want to live. They may serve a different purpose than you, but they definitely want to live. More importantly, as you become more aware, you become more self-aware. There's a great saying that goes, as above, so below, as within, so without. That means that your reality inside of you is going to be the same reality outside of you. You'll begin to become a lot more aware of the traumas that your body, that you put your body through when it comes to eating things such as meat or other animals. It's very, very important to be aware and self-conscious of your own natural spirit. Alrighty guys, as you can see, our cauliflower is done, and as you also can see that I didn't steam it completely to I steamed it just enough for it to be tender, and like I said, I steamed it for only about 7 minutes, so it still has some of its nutrition in it. And I also we're also going to season our cauliflower before we throw it into our sauté pan. And I'm going to introduce you guys to some of my favorite seasonings, which are white pepper, pink salt, onion salt, garlic salt, cayenne, and black pepper. Our rice is in fact done. I threw some lemon pepper and black pepper and a little bit of salt into the rice just to give it some flavor, because I hate bland ass rice. I did allow the vegetable oil to heat up a little bit. You don't want to have the heat on high when you're sauteing your food. You kind of want the grease to slowly get a little bit hot. And now we're just going to sit here and throw our cauliflower onto the oil. There we go. Allow it to slowly cook. I guess you could say allow time to cook your food. Because when you try to rush food, you know, the love gets taken out of it. So now we have our spinach on the stove. I like to throw the spinach on the oil while the oil is heating up. It's very, very important, because usually when you heat up the oil, then throw the spinach on there, you know you're gonna get a lot of oil splashing on you because there's a lot of water that's inside of the spinach itself. What we're going to do is sprinkle some salt and pepper. I don't, and maybe a pinch of cayenne on top of the spinach, because spinach has its own flavor. I usually don't go crazy on seasonings when it comes towards my sauteed spinach. Remember guys, you really don't want your spinach to be in there that too long. First off, spinach shrinks to and I hate it sometimes. But you really want, you're supposed to use tongs, but unfortunately I only have a spatula. But you really want to try to keep your spinach in there. I think I said 30 to 20 seconds. Try to keep it in there for at least maybe 10 to 15 seconds tops. You don't want to overcook your spinach. Like as you can see now, some of the spinach over here is getting a little too overcooked for me. But for the simplicity of making this video, it got fucked. Excuse my language. And there you have it, guys. Steamed cauliflower, sauteed spinach, and rice. And just to further conclude this video, things takes time. And becoming a vegan is definitely a journey. For those of you who are having a hard time, don't beat yourself up about it. You know, there was once a philosopher that used to live on Earth. His name was Alan Watts, and he had a huge, I don't want to say huge, but he had a really, really striking, I guess you can say, speech or a motivational video, which he stated that, you know, outing the devil simply is taking the time to really focus on what you truly want. And sometimes that focus, you have to take it day by day. You cannot think, hey, I'm going to be a vegan, and that's just going to be the end of it. It takes time. It's a journey, because we definitely live in a world where you are told these lies and these benefits from eating certain foods when they aren't true. And to reprogram your mind takes time. Like, some of you are maybe my age, which is 25 or older. You've been doing, or you've been eating meat for a very long time. So whatever goal it is, if you're switching to vegan, trust me, if you can take that notation and turn to vegan, you can do anything. Because becoming a vegan in a world that is meat-based is truly hard. Stay blessed. Namaste. See you next video.
And forget the money. Because if you say that getting the money is the most important thing, you will spend your life completely wasting your time. You'll be doing things you don't like doing in order to go on living, that is, to go on doing things you don't like doing, which is stupid.